New Mexico, we're going to hit it out of the park and take you out of bounds right now as we catch you up on sports, news, and information from across all of the leagues in the country. First, we're going to start off, Kimberly, with the little look at the Major League Baseball standings.
Yes.
We're a little bit, I mean, most of the teams have played about 50 games, you know. We've got a little bit more than 100 left over in the season.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at some of these teams, some of these divisions, and see how these races are developing.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be tough. Okay. The AL East, your New York Yankees.
They are moving up.
They're moving up.
In the rankings, slowly but surely. We're not too far behind Toronto.
Nope.
And, you know, Toronto and Baltimore, are both looking really fierce this season, but if the Yankees can get a few more wins in there and maybe those two teams can get some losses, we might even move up a little further.
That might help. The Boston Red Sox are winning. 32-21 is their record.
Ugh.
The Yankees are only 7.5 games behind now.
Yeah.
Look, that could change in the course of 2 weeks. We know how baseball goes.
Yeah.
So they are still within striking distance. For instance, I mean, everybody in this division is striking distance. As the Maverick man said, the AL East is going to be one to look out for.
Yes.
I'm interested in moving over to the National League, looking at the NL Central. The Chicago Cubs posting the best record in the major leagues right now, 36-15. It looks like they're doing it, but once they've got a 7.5 game lead on Pittsburgh, and they've got a 9.5 game lead on St. Louis. Pittsburgh and St. Louis have been there before. They know that they don't have to come out on fire to catch up.
I think in baseball, one of the biggest things that a lot of teams sometimes forget or don't keep in mind is it is slow and steady wins the race. You really don't need to be the best at the very beginning. It's better to hit your groove mid-season and really continue that and kind of almost plateau at a great point in your season from the midpoint on.
Yeah.
Because that's when we start to really keep track of how many games you are behind, what you're really looking like, and who you're really playing the most. Because we see a lot of pitchers kind of get tired halfway through, and that's when a lot of teams should be using those pitchers. But those pitchers have been stressed out and overused in the beginning of the season. Baseball, it's a long season.
Yeah, you got to manage your roster well. Okay, quick look. We'll look at all the bottom feeders right now, all the teams that are on the bottom. We've got Cincinnati on the bottom in the NL Central, San Diego in the bottom in the NL West, Atlanta on the bottom. Atlanta's at the bottom of Major League Baseball, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to keep them out of this entirely. Okay, we've got the LA Dodgers at the bottom, the Minnesota Twins, sorry, Tyler, they're at the bottom of, once again, I think they're tied with Atlanta for the worst team in baseball. I mean, Tyler, you got to choose winners. Minnesota and Dallas, we got to help you out, man. And Tampa Bay is at the bottom. Which of these bottom feeders do you think has the best chance to make a run at the playoffs? I'm not saying they make it in the playoffs, but they have a chance to make a run.
Well, I can definitely narrow out two teams, like you said, Minnesota and Atlanta. I don't think they have a chance at a run at anything this season. I'm just going to, like, you know, scratch those guys just right out of there. You know, I'm looking at San Diego. I think San Diego's got a good shot. They're pretty fresh, and they don't have the best record yet, obviously, the bottom in their league, but we've still got like 2/3 of the season left.
Plenty of time.
And if these guys are anything like I've just described, maybe they're about to hit their groove in about 20 games and really ride that up to the top. Plus, they've got a pretty decent group to play with, so maybe they've got some losses ahead for those other teams in their bracket, and that's all it really takes.
That's true.
Is a couple losses for someone big, and those bottom feeders move right up.
Particularly if the bottom feeders can win the series against teams in their own division, then they will make that. I'm looking at Tampa Bay.
Okay.
Tampa Bay has the pitching, they have the experience, they have the young bats, and that division is going to be very competitive and tight the entire season.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It may come down to just a 4-game split between the top and the bottom in that division. But hey, that's why baseball is called the long grind. We've got the entire summer to sort all of this out.
We've got plenty of time to see who's going to take that.
That's right. Moving on to NFL news, ladies and gentlemen. Check this out. Los Angeles Rams quarterback Nick Foles is not at OTAs. If you don't know what OTAs are, those are organized team activities. Those are completely voluntary, but it's highly suggested that the NFL players get there. You get to work with the coaches, you get to work with the rookies, implement new schemes, work on different things. This is the first process of getting the team together for the haul of the long season. But Mr. Nick Foles, the Rams' former starting quarterback, decided not to show up because the Rams used the first overall #1 draft pick this year on Jared Goff, quarterback out of Cal. And Nick Foles is pouting a little bit, I think.
You know, we've talked about this before on the show, that this is where you see a lack of leadership in a player, especially a quarterback.
Yeah.
That is the team leader. That is the key that makes the whole ship work. And if this guy's not comfortable going to OTAs to even work with Jared, because, you know, we go to OTAs, we see him improve, and we watch Jared, and, you know, his coaches might just be like, Jared needs a couple years. He needs to grow behind you. You need to get out there and really show him what's up. Yeah. Jared has no one to learn behind now, and he's going to be put out there. And, you know, we're going to see Foles sit the bench quite a bit this season with this attitude.
That's how you sit the bench. That's how you get yourself removed from a team and possibly removed from a league.
Yes.
Look, the days of Nick Foles being a starter in the NFL, I think, are over.
Oh, yeah.
He had an impressive first year under Chip Kelly at Philadelphia. He got traded to the Los Angeles Rams. Didn't quite get it done, even though they signed him to a $24 million extension. He's not really making it happen. That's why they went out and got this kid number 1. If you could show yourself to be the consummate pro, to be the veteran and show that leadership, and to compete possibly for the job, because I don't think Jeff Fisher's going to just hand the starting job over to the kid. But now he's put the situation up to where that's what occurs. So we'll see what happens with this. I think that Nick Foles' days in the NFL are numbered from this. You're definitely going to be a career-long backup. Moving on in NFL news, got some tough news for you Broncos fans. Defensive end DeMarcus Ware is sitting out of OTAs due to back issues. If you know, as the Dallas Cowboys fans, early in his career, he had knee issues and back issues. Last season, he missed a few games due to back issues. Now they're holding him out of OTAs for back issues. Doesn't mean he's injured. It just means he's a little bit sore. Teams do this with their veterans all the time, because why lose your veteran now when you're just initially getting practice started, as opposed to when the games actually mean something and count? So there's plenty of teams. Tyler mentioned Victor Cruz in the fantasy football segment. And it's interesting because Giants are holding him out. Well, what does this mean for Denver? Will they have a scary defense, seeing that DeMarcus Ware is on the decline?
I would love to see Denver not have a scary defense, only because the Jaguars play them this year.
Okay.
So if we can maybe just get a break on the defense from Denver, we've got at least a shot at having not such a bad loss to Denver.
All right.
But I'll tell you right now, I even wrote a blog about Jacksonville's upcoming season and their likelihood of making it to the playoffs. I'm thinking it's going to look like a 9 or 10 win season for Jacksonville, especially if the Broncos are weak on defense.
Do you have them beating the Broncos in their matchup?
I don't, because, you know, even if the Broncos have a weaker defense, they don't have Peyton Manning. They've got some big changes on their team, and we've got one of their former defensive players now. But the Broncos have had a notorious record for the past few years. They've really climbed up that mountain and made it worthwhile. I don't know that the Jacksonville Jaguars can hang with that, and I'm not really sure where the game is held. I think it might be in Denver, and if it is, everybody knows that altitude is hard to play in, and Jacksonville is not quite used to it.
They're not used to it, but they're young. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Jacksonville wins that game. That's
I like
right.
that.
Preseason predictions coming from me. Jacksonville beats Denver. Blake Bortles has one hell of a game because he's going to be on my fantasy team. Okay, one more bit of NFL news. We had an early retirement. Eagles defensive back Walter Thurmond has retired from the league at the age of 28. Now, this is part of something that we've seen grow in the NFL in the past few years. A lot of players retiring very early from the game. He cited that he wanted to follow other professional career pursuits, i.e. the film industry, but he had some tweets out that came out after he made his announcement that suggested possible worries about CTE and concussion-related health issues could be the reason why he's retiring early.
We've talked about that. You know, health in professional sports is such a major thing, and these guys struggle very often with a great deal of injuries and health problems. It's just bound to happen. So, you know, it's almost nice to see him retire and give himself a shot at a bright future. Yeah. He's so young. It would be a waste of a human being to watch him fumble and fall because of an NFL injury.
That's right. That's right. So good luck to you, Mr. Thurman. Hopefully you set a good example for other players coming out there into the future. Look, after life after football, they all have to think about.
Yeah.
All they've known is football for the most part up until the chance they get into the NFL. Play for 8 years, maybe 10 years in the NFL and move on. We don't need to see any more 15-year journeymen.
Value yourself.
Maybe a quarterback or two. But you know, we just saw how that ended with Peyton Manning. One last bit of news. We've got French Open news, the quarterfinals. Miss Serena Williams has reached her 44th Grand Slam quarterfinal of her career. 44 times she's entered a Grand Slam tournament, and she's made at least the quarterfinals. That has to be some sort of record. Somebody Google that and let us know through our social media. And she defeated Elena Svitolina at 6-1, 6-1 to reach the finals. Serena is a beast. She's on her way. Venus lost a little bit earlier, but Serena looks like she's going to be able to pull this off and get the championship on the clay.
We have talked about Serena so many times. She is a phenomenal athlete, an outstanding representation of taking good care of your health and your body and loving what you do. She has just driven the world of tennis, and I think a lot of people really pay attention to the sport because of Serena and the Williams sisters as a whole.
Exactly. They did it, and they're going to make us Americans proud by winning it over at the French. We got the Players Club coming up next for you here at the uSports Report.